Do it. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wait, what's this called? Big announcement coming soon? Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2.
And welcome back to the Big Announcement Coming Soon podcast. I'm here today with David. I am Jeff, and we've got the last 2 weeks of crypto news and what's been going on for you. David, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, pretty good. Just riding the waves.
Yeah, and Nick is out this week. He's got some cool stuff going on that hopefully he can share in the next couple of weeks. Mostly Bitcoin, and ETFs. For myself, I used to watch a YouTuber called The Modern Investor, and he would talk about alts and the tech and all this stuff. And I want to say 2020 or so, it started being Bitcoin only. And I've kind of fallen into that where we used to, own more alts, talk about it, look at it, and it's just the depth of the bear. And it feels like it keeps going, specifically for alts, it keeps going. Last week, Nick talked about meme coins and NFTs, but it seems like it's silly to look at anything but Bitcoin right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would think it's also kind of true in the stock market. I was just thinking as you were saying that, like if you look at the S&P 500, it's up, right? But it's only up because the top 7, Nvidia, like these other stocks, have been rising. And if you actually look at the bottom 497, they've only gone up like 4% over the last year or something. So it's
and something like
it's weird, like
40% is buoyed by the rest of it, and that's what brings it up to that higher number.
Yeah, totally. And then I guess in the whole a hierarchy of value, like Bitcoin still comes in like way down from other people's stocks. So Bitcoin logically kind of continues to go down. Alts, junk bonds, essentially go down even more. Yeah, it's a big down time. But I mean, it's interesting because like we in the community think, okay, ETFs are coming. That's exciting. ETF should be futures ETF in theory is being decided on next week or 2 weeks or something. But like at the same time, you got to kind of put yourself in the context of the wider world. Like crypto is seen as risky at the same time as you're having like people piling money into treasury bonds as they continue to go lower, like they're down 50% over the course of the last year or 2 years or something. So like the idea of fleet of bonds for safety is like losing you money. And so like the idea that you would then flip around and buy Bitcoin is kind of it might be a scary thing to do, even scarier, even though for us it seems logical. It's like, yes, escape the broken money system. But for most people, it's more of a time to like fleet I guess, dollars.
Yeah, we've been doing this a while. We've owned Bitcoin a while. We're big fans of the actual use and longevity of it. So for us dipping a toe or keeping our toes in versus somebody who's brand new to the space. And I still think it'll come with education and advertising, and that's going to come through ETFs. And then you have a product to sell that's going to get it back on people's radars. And yeah, it's something a couple of years ago people at my work would bring up, and now no one does. And that's fine, but it's just the nature of it. And I keep looking back to, well, Fink is making it. He's going to market it. BlackRock's going to market it. And the biggest thing with Bitcoin, especially as you're comparing it to stocks, the S&P 500, you need to be able to move in and out. And liquidity is part of that. You can't move in and out of altcoins if you're moving millions without moving the price. And because of that, people are waiting. And that's for us. For the rest of the world, the Bitcoin market cap pool is still quite small. So to dip your toe into that small pool, if you've got a big chunk of money, how does Michael Saylor exit? He's kind of stuck in Bitcoin. He would crush the price exiting. He needs more people to buy in. They don't want to buy in until they can exit. As soon as liquidity is there to exit, you want to enter. So to get people to enter, we need the liquidity. And basically it comes back to Bitcoin will get there eventually. But when people talk about big adoption with their altcoins, it's the runoff from Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to digest there. Exactly. Like Sailor point in a second, but exactly, like people conflate this idea that Bitcoin is crypto and altcoins and Bitcoin are the same. It's like, it's not. Like Bitcoin is a very simple premise. Bitcoin has value to transfer over the internet, whether that's money or it's like digital value as gold. And it's taken 15 years at that point to kind of prove that to the world. If your token project launched like just recently, the idea that like institutions are about to like accept that is it's vastly further. So they're very two different fields. This is like technology, and this is like new money. So Saylor, like, yeah, I mean, the thing that people keep saying, like, Saylor, like, well, when will he sell? He will never sell. Like, that's the thing. Like, he truly believes. And so, and the question is, like, if you believe in the Bitcoin's mission or whatever, he should need to never sell, really, like, because he's bought in so early with so much that the value of it at the future, he could just like take loans out against it if he needs fiat or whatever. And so I think, yeah, it's a different kind of paradigm when you're starting to think about huge values of money, because I mean, also if you think about like what currently do people do to store huge value, they send it to Cayman Islands and Jersey and like all these other places, and it's kind of like,
or you buy stock, you buy bonds, you buy gold, and then you start getting into art and wine and watches, and that's a tough
and security
investment.
becomes like I keep thinking like, wow, if I like, what if you had like billions of dollars and you just send it to the Cayman Islands? Like, that's pretty crazy. Like, what if they just say, no, that's my money now? But then you get into like, why is it that way? Because it's the British jurisdiction and the British banking system backs it up. And then you start to really kind of get into a weird place where you're like, when you have that much money, what is value? Like, why would Saylor, like Bitcoin go to $5,000 and he's still a billionaire or whatever? Like, it won't. That would crush lots of things, but Saylor will always, and he said this before, will always be the guy who buys the top of the market, because his buys create tops because they're so that's what recently happened, which sucks, because every time Saylor's like, oh, MicroStrategy just bought more Bitcoin, you're like, oh crap, that means that
we go down for 2 weeks
TWAP, TWAP won't be in the market anymore. And the other thing is that, I mean, what you said is true about advertising, right? Like the Novogratz said on stage, permissionless or something like that. Anyway, he was like, yeah, like Galaxy is being backed by Invesco, but of course, the sales desk of BlackRock, the sales desk of Fidelity, all these sales desks, as soon as this launches, they're going to get to work and they're going to sell the product. Like, you don't launch an ETF just to have it fail. You launch it because you've done the research, you believe it has market, and you can then market it and take advantage. So, yeah, I mean, it would seem that like that's the coming, but just because that's coming in whatever doesn't mean there's not a huge nasty recession coming in between now and then, and people aren't thinking about that first.
Yeah, my timeline is 6 months to 2 years, maybe sooner, maybe after. Right, 2 years, we're in the middle of 2025. We're after a halvening. It follows a normal Bitcoin upcycle.
Yep, sorry.
No, it follows a normal Bitcoin upcycle, and then you pile on the advertising, and then the buying and liquidity coming in.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
I mean,
like you said about Saylor. Oh, sorry, I was gonna say, to go on your Saylor point, he doesn't want to exit. He believes in it. He doesn't want to have his money held in dollars at some offshore bank or something. This is an asset he wants to hold, but it's still an asset he can't use too much until that liquidity is there. Even like you're saying, getting loans against it, utilizing it. He's still not waiting to exit. He still needs to wait for everyone else to come fill the pool up, and then he can start using his Bitcoin.
Yeah, true, I guess. You could probably say the same about stocks, though. Like large owners of stocks can't really exit their positions in companies, and so it's like you're a believer for the long term. It's almost kind of like Bitcoin is his brand now. It's almost like Berkshire Hathaway is Buffett's brand, and so I suppose he doesn't have to sell Bitcoin. He can sell MicroStrategy stock as a derivative of the Bitcoin.
Right.
And like that's actually a sneaky way of just basically be able to like, yep, I have this massive, ridiculous asset base, and now it's going up, and I don't ever have to sell it. I can just sell MicroStrategy, and you can buy into that.
Right. And people have said that's the second way for institutions to get into Bitcoin. There's GBTC Trust, and then there's MicroStrategy shares, which are, like you said, really at some point, the value of their Bitcoin was outweighing their yearly revenue. So if it goes up a couple percent, it's another year's revenue.
Yeah, well, exactly, right. I mean, it's kind of it's like a version of what GBTC has done, right? And then they got the premium and they got the discount because it's a trust. I mean, MicroStrategy is another way to buy Bitcoin at this point because its value is largely backed by its Bitcoin, I think.
Yeah. So
And
that's
also
all.
domain names.
That's the kind of good long-term inevitability we see with Bitcoin, but we got to get there first. And is Binance going to be going to be here when we're all exiting Bitcoin?
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like you see two stories playing out. You see Binance Japan and Binance Belgium starting operating, expanding, doing things. And then at the same time, you see Binance Russia shutting down and
Got
giving
sold.
over
Yeah.
control, to which is also Binance affiliated. But either way, like
Hmm.
that kind of comes off the back of likely them being charged. Now, if you read Adam Cochran's threads, like the theory would be that
Hmm.
something along the lines of Binance was used for financing during the Ukraine war,
Hmm.
and Binance knowingly allowed that to occur. So now they're probably after the fact trying to pull out of to show good faith. But I
Hmm.
mean, if they did that, it's not going to really make a difference. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I would say it's going to be like anything, right? Like everyone's like, oh, FTX blew up and now they're going to restart the exchange. And so like Binance will continue to exist. It would just be
Hmm.
tamed significantly and then like micro operated out of different countries, I think, based on their local jurisdictions. And I don't know what happens to the international one and stuff. But yeah, I think it's kind of being taken down a peg, which I think will probably impact the price negatively for the next months because it's uncertainty, big holder things.
So on that, Binance was always the early place to trade alts unless you wanted to go to KuCoin or Huobi, which might not be solvent either. Right, we're in a bear market. People want to be buying Bitcoin and ETH. You've got Coinbase, Kraken. Um, Different countries have other local exchanges that aren't Binance. Are we losing the degenerate shitcoin market, or are we losing the Bitcoin crypto market when Binance dies? Let's say it dies and goes away.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's interesting. So I don't think it would die and go away, but I think
Yeah.
that it is actually almost like the decentralization of the market. Like the big player got too big that the government came in and shut it down. And so now just like networks that peer-to-peer networks that still exist and can't be shut down, they kind of,
Hmm. Yeah.
decentralize much more,
Dex
either into
volume's
local
already up
jurisdiction
this year.
or
Yeah.
I would say that, yeah, exactly. That's it. Like, I remember like Uniswap came out and I was super lazy and never really even bothered trying it or whatever. But, now I use Uniswap now and again, Thor and things like that. So, yeah, I think it's time for, these other dexes that are now proven to become as user friendly as they need to be. Or maybe because everyone signed up to MetaMask to buy NFTs, they're ready to kind of, they're already just sitting there onboarded, ready to go. I don't
Hmm.
know. But, either way, yeah, the user interface for crypto is still not great. The chance for you to lose money. I was just watching Zeke or Pete Zeke's book, Number Go Up came out.
Hmm.
He did like interviews of Bankman-Fried. I think he was with him when he got arrested in the Bahamas and stuff. He's kind of a crypto skeptic for sure, but he points out a lot of real things, right? Like he tried to go into the life of crypto people and bought an ape for 20 grand to get into Ape Fest and did all the things and stuff. But yeah, one of the big takeaways he had was just how scary it was. Like he's like, as soon as I bought an ape, everyone's like, your ape's gonna get stolen. You've got to put it on your phone on like a USB stick, and you had to like learn how to do that. And when you sign
Hmm.
up to MetaMask, you have to watch a tutorial about how basically you're on your own now, and like make sure you don't do this and that. And to us, we're like, yeah, cool. We're like taking
Yeah.
control. But like a lot of people are like, that's not what like I just want a single sign-on with Google and whatever. So I think that's
Hmm.
going to be hopefully the next wave is essentially UI that makes sense and is easy. And you can see with Coinbase already starting with Base and it's easier to sign up for certain apps, hopefully increasingly so over time.
Yeah. I mean, and Coinbase launched their NFT platform, which died. I don't remember if I even got to visit it, or it might still be up, but it was through MetaMask. It was through their Coinbase wallet. I couldn't go to my Coinbase.com and just swap NFTs for ETH. That would have been a very easy user experience. And that's what you're saying. That's what would onboard people. Um, for anybody I've introduced to crypto, it's go to Coinbase and sit, and they're like, well, what is MetaMask? What's Uniswap? I'm like, don't. You can go Google on your own if you're willing to do the legwork. You're willing to understand like how much time it takes and what you need to understand for it. If you just want to ask one or two questions and jump in, I don't want to be responsible for your actions.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. Like a lot of these dexes and everything are built for like it's going to work and it's going to work immutably, and that's great. And it's I wouldn't say it's easy to maintain that, but it's like it's easier to maintain than a huge help desk trying to undo transactions and like setting up huge confirmation wait times and setting slippages because you need to require people not to be like there's a reason centralized things work because you got a person there to talk to and things like that. And so there needs to be a certain interface developed between, so that's essentially the reason ETFs and BlackRock and stuff, the way they work is that they just hold the Bitcoin on their account and you trade paper. And so it's settled later. And so you can dispute it and it can all come back to you. Like, so there's not, I sent it to this address. It was a wrong address, but that person won't send it back to me now. What are we going to do? Like,
so you're saying that the whole Bitcoin address is abstracted because you own the ETF, which is a stock product that references the Bitcoin that BlackRock holds. And for everyone, you don't even have to log in. You can call your broker as you do. Say, yes, 5% allocated to Bitcoin, 30% to bonds, 65 to stocks. And then that's all you need to know. And whoever your financial person is can tell you, this is how I recommend you split it. And some people know what ETFs are. A lot of people are like, oh, ETFs. And I'm like, what is it? They're like, the stocks thing. They own them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, totally. They're just a very easy way to own, products in the market. And so that's the other part, right? So it's almost like the price of crypto is also denominated by how difficult it is to use it. The more easy it gets to use, just logically, if there is a interest at a certain level and you make something easier to use, the demand will rise to meet the supply because the supply is now easier to get to, so it's cheaper, if you will, in your time. The easier it gets, the more people on board, but also the safer it gets. So there's lots of things that are happening. It's going to be easier, it's going to be safer, it's going to be more controlled, which, good or bad, but and so all these are price multipliers, and people have invested lots of money to do that. So one would argue the price will go up, but whether it'll go up right now, I'm not sure.
And a lot of this is things that over the last couple of years, especially pre-2021 or so, you got to do crypto on chain. You can't do central custody. I remember even, not your keys, not your coins is not something I've heard in the last 3 years, but people withdrawing from Coinbase to make sure they had reserves and stuff. That's great. I believe in all of that. 99.7% of the world doesn't care, and we can have our ideals, but unless it's secret special crypto only for people who want to figure out holding their own keys, then it's going to be an ETF, and it's going to be a lot of the things that Bitcoin wasn't invented to be. But that's how people access things, right? Not everybody's, assembling their own Linux kernel. We just buy Macs.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. Sorry, I just had to interject because I saw a hilarious meme. For BitBoy, it's not your keys, not your Lambo.
Oh, golly. I would say we could talk about it, but he's literally been on air saying everything that's run through his head, whether he's driving around in his car, loose carrying in the back seat, or chatting with the cops, or he needs to go to rehab.
BitBoy's Arc is. I also saw another good meme of placing BitBoy's Arc on the market chart, and so like peak was like him taking on FTX, and like people were starting to be like, wait a minute, you're like legit, or like we're willing to put like stuff behind us,
a brain for a couple months.
And then like the decline to where like we've reached depression phase, and you're getting arrested outside trying to reclaim your Lambo.
Yeah, and if
And
we're
so now
talking
in
about
theory it's bullish, up only.
like who's coming into the space, and I'm saying they can't figure out necessarily decentralized, we got to go the easy ETF way. Well, who's representing the space? I mean,
Well,
between Sam,
yeah.
Bitboy could have just stopped shilling shit coins 3 years ago. He'd made it. He could have run his show and worked without all the questions about the scams and the pumps and this and that. And he had millions, but he wanted 10 more million and 10 more million and did it the scammy way. And you're just like, dude,
Also social validation.
this
I
looks
think he's like
gross.
he believes that he is a leader of his crew, his people, and so
Hmm.
like he thinks it's a bigger cause now than all that. But yeah, no, definitely like
Yeah, like, no, it's just a little YouTube show and you made some money. Be pleased with yourself and chill out.
yeah, and also stop shilling micro caps that you get, anyway. But like
Yeah.
the other thing is it's like we were talking about last time, like little like the space is eating itself in a way. Like last time it
Hmm.
was like the ladies, and then now it's BitBoys destructed it, and then there are other like projects that are like getting Mixin was just hacked. Like it's almost just like the grand crescendo after
Hmm.
you had the huge FTX thing or whatever, and now this is like another crescendo along with the main markets, and then yeah, I don't know. We see.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the lows are in. I think Bitcoin has already made the lows back in November last year, but or whenever it was.
Yeah. The
But
15 to
now,
17K lows.
yeah, now we test the resolve of the remaining, like people who have kind of managed to last the last bear market and then got into
Hmm.
this bear market thinking it's over and we're going up. Now we get to test their resolve one final time and leave them behind if not, or what? And then 2024, pretty
The
exciting year, I think.
Well, the other thing the last 18 months has given us, when you see the news on Argentina, this percent, 70% own crypto, Turkey, Lebanon, 90% own crypto, they didn't also go broke overnight and buy crypto overnight. 18 months might be the timeline for those headlines. And I'm not saying they push the price in any significant way yet, but as people come around to it and hodl and get out of their own currencies, you don't get an overnight and you see the news about Turkey and you're like, wow, Bitcoin to 1 million. No, those people are getting out of their currency bit by bit and slowly sucking up Bitcoin supply along with everything else as
Yeah.
we exit that bear.
And it's in a narrative thing too. It's like a price to earnings. So like you have the underlying thing that's happening that's driving the demand of the Bitcoin. And then you have people speculating on that, and that drives it. Like, so you're like, oh, okay, it's doing that this year. So price to earnings ratios of stocks are usually like 13, 14 times. So
Mm-hmm.
13 or 14 years ahead is how long the price is priced out to. So it tries at 14 times what it's earned. You could kind of calculate a similar thing for Bitcoin to how much it costs to be mined,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. And right now that's pretty low, but it can rise, yeah, pretty quickly as, yeah, exactly. Like people, if like the reason, like, so Turkey and Argentina and Lebanon and more of these countries start buying more Bitcoin, which they are just naturally, as well as other people see that, and the narrative takes over that this is actually, it's like Tesla, right? Like Tesla doesn't make nearly as much as
Mm-hmm.
it's like PDE is like 170 or something ridiculous, but the underlying
Yeah.
story is so powerful and the character of it is so powerful that it has come like a religious fervor, and Bitcoin has that in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just takes igniting.
Sweet. Yes, Bitcoin does have
Mhm.
religious fervor. I'm on board.
Sounds good. So is Larry Fink, so he can do most of the
Yeah.
fervoring.
I don't like a lot of his things, but I'm not dumb enough to not follow him into the money.
Exactly. Yeah, it is kind of funny. Like you were watching, like, I don't know. It's almost like you see like a lot of people, like, so Tim Cook and Ray Dalio and Larry Fink, and it's just like
Bill
name after
Miller.
name after name. Yeah, exactly. They're all owning Bitcoin and saying like this is why I do it, and I just continue to say it. And then like you have everybody else still saying it's ridiculous, and then you have us people, and we're kind of like, wait a minute, these guys over here have changed their minds. Who used to say it was bad, now is saying it's good. But you guys haven't changed your mind yet. What's the deal? Have you not watched these videos? And
Yeah.
and they haven't. That's why, and it's kind of slowly filtering through. So it's kind of, it comes and goes in waves, obviously.
Excellent. We'll see you for the next wave on Wednesday in 2 weeks. And we'll see if Nick is back to give us the lowdown on if any NFTs have traded in the meantime. or if the market's still flat.
Oh, that's an interesting way. Yeah, no, on an NFT world, like big shout out to Pudgy Penguins. Just got their Pudgies started to be sold in 2,000 Walmart stores across America, and their floor price is now above Macy. So yeah, Pudgy Penguins continue to deliver. Luca Nets, what a ledge.
Nice. That project specifically, we've talked about before, interesting how it went from like, oh God, this guy's launching it, this is going to be a scam, to somebody else took it over. It's so cute, and it's really been rocking. And I own zero.
Yeah, totally. It's pretty powerful. I mean, and I think like it has that sticky staying power because everyone who's in it have been in for a ride that has gone up, down, whatever, but it has succeeded over time.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. I mean, and it's also like a lot of people who own are, legit. Like Jeebus is, went in full time at the beginning and was like, "Yep, I love this penguin. Look like the way it looks. That's why I like it." And it's the right attitude, right? He didn't really. He wasn't. I guess it. Yeah, it was about making money as well, but yeah, it's kind of the cultures of the NFT projects that persist are the ones that are kind of like the most chill or at least like the most vibe, versus like the ones that got really crazy and were like, I don't know, you're like filming outside the apes and they're all like aping, and then they're like goblins, we're like being goblins on the noise. Like,
yeah, you can't
guys,
sustain that.
This is if that's what you got to do to be part of this, like nobody's going to. You just got to like own Pudgy Penguin, enjoy it, have fun and shit in Twitter, and good things happen.
Craniums are still sending people to concerts. They just made a company with the Murder Heads, which is like liquid death, the drink, the bubbly water that's popular with all the hardcore people. So it's plodding along. It's never been super valuable, but it's always produced. And I think it's going to head the same way. It's going to be fine, but it's not going to be $1 billion project in the next 3 months.
Yeah, and that's good, to be honest, because that's not we'll probably look back on this time in crypto and just be like, man, we were so irresponsible with like great ideas. So it's like, oh, this is a great idea. We're going to decentralize the internet. Why doesn't everyone just pump the token? It's like, well, the project needs to succeed. If we pump the token, it will destroy it. Yes, but I just want the pump. And you're like, yeah, that's not like the investors in crypto don't necessarily have the best intentions for the development of the technology, and that's always kind of a devs versus it's always
we're all kind of running a SPAC. Come on, come in, buy it, sell it. If we can't, just let it run to zero.
Yeah, hopefully those days are over. Yeah, exactly. But that was definitely the way of the past. Just so much kind of like, how much can I extract out of this project versus is it actually good tech or not?
Yeah. Well, sweet. On that note of extraction or good tech, do we want to do any Bitcoin predictions?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I am a bear at the moment. Lots of bearish news on the everywhere. China's Evergrande is like not doing well. It's super bad. So yeah, I think Bitcoin is holding the line and then just gonna sometime in the next 2 weeks go below 25, 23, something like that. But yeah, by the time we get to like November, we're at like 21, 22.
Oh, I wasn't that bearish. I thought we'd trickle down slower and not as low, but we
could also bounce and be like up at like 28 next week, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, we're going up," but I still think we're going down after that. Like, it's too late. Everything's below the lines of resistance and sentiment. It's not.
And if anyone's made it this far in this video, obviously we're not trading it, and don't take our advice because even though we're saying the opposite things, we're both usually wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you just buy and hold.
Exactly. Huh. Sweet. Good talking with you. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Party on. Catch you then.
Wait, what's this called? Big announcement coming soon? Oh, yeah. 5, 4, 3.